Good morning. Good morning. So happy to see you and to have you here. I'm Jackie Edwards Walton, and I am the co-convener along with Laura McClady and others that make this forum work are Steve Johnston, technology, all things, along with Shay Abdullah. We have Thomas Moore, our music man. Nathalie McGallrath, our timekeeper and her signs. Mary Johnson, Winston Robinson, Jasmine Wright, and Gary Young. We here at the Sarah Stevenson Tuesday Forum, we've been here for more than 45 years. Wow. Giving information to the community. And we meet more than 45 times a year.
We're tired.
Some are retired. But we're so happy to have you here today. And we will have persons coming in and out, and they will do that respectfully. But we always open up with prayer. And so I see, Gerald, do you mind praying for us today?
Good morning. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we just thank you once again for this opportunity just to bring us in this presence, Lord, in this body, to continue the mission of being a whole community, not divided, not separate, Lord, but all on one accord. Lord, we are thankful for the participant that is here and the one that may be on their way, Lord, that they will continue to share information about their platform and their agenda in which they would like to take this community, Lord. Lord, we ask that you just continue to bless the facilitators of this great program and ministry, 45 years of committed service, Lord. These are individuals that give tirelessly of their free time, Lord, not expecting anything in return, Lord, which is truly an example that we all need to have like Christ, that we are one to be, not to be served, but to be in service of others, Lord. So whatever happens during this election season, Lord, we ask that all candidates keep that in mind, that they have a spirit of being in service to those they represent in the community. These and other blessings we ask in your precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Gerald. Do we have any persons here for the first time? Can you please stand and we'll bring a microphone to you. Give us about 15 seconds, your name, and how you got here today.
Absolutely. So Deontay Lewis, server of the Boys and Girls Club here in Charlotte. And a few folks have invited me and finally actually made it. So excited to be here. Thank y'all for having me.
Don't wait for them.
Oh, sorry. So from Milwaukee, she said 15 seconds. Give me a try. From Milwaukee, Wisconsin. First time I've come to Charlotte was through this opportunity. So excited to be here.
Thank you. Welcome.
I think I saw you on TV the other night.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. My name is Wendy Mateo Pascual. I'm with the Latino Tu Voto Cuenta. Latino You Vote Count is a volunteer civic engagement program that have been working in the community to engage the Latino community. I'm excited with that.
What's the farm? The farm?
Oh, I always forgot the business part. So I have the farm. It's the only Latino-owned farm on Mecklenburg County, Pasquale Farm. We are on Plaza Road Extension here in East Charlotte. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm Liliana Wendorf, and I am Professor Emerita, Queen's University of Charlotte, and I was invited by two good friends to come today. I'm from Peru.
And my former professor.
Oh, yes, yes, former professor. Thank you.
Gerald looked at me and said, the farm. I had no idea.
That's my church member.
Oh, right there.
Carolyn staff, and I'll invite my cousin Gerald. Right here from the QC.
Nicely done. Legacy family in Charlotte.
Thank you so much. Again, we're happy to have you here. Just a couple of rules that we want to let you know about. We will have 30 seconds for you to ask a question, about 2 minutes to answer the question, JD. And we do not go back and forth. Once the answer is there, it's there. We prefer you not to be yelling out answers or comments, just to kind of keep it kind of level. We appreciate you doing that. Right now, what we want to do, Ms. Molina is not here. And when you ask your question, someone will bring a microphone to you. Please hold the microphone to your mouth because we have a streaming audience and we need to hear you. So we'll get started with JD. We'll give you about 5 minutes.
Great.
Great.
Amazing. I talk a lot.
I know, and it's good stuff.
Moment of silence.
Oh, yes. Please manage your phones. Manage your phones, and I'll do that also. Because I have been guilty. I have been guilty. And you'll find that everyone will look back at you. Okay. All right. JD.
I hold up a sign for 30 seconds. JD, when you're down to 30 seconds.
Great, thank you. Hello? Okay, great. Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing? Good. I know it's early morning. Thank you for being here. My name is Juan Diego Mazuera Arias, but most of you know me as JD. I'm running for Charlotte City Council District 5. I'm a son of East Charlotte. My family and I migrated to the United States, and in 2001, we made East Charlotte our home. So I've grown up here. I've been a proud product of our public schools at CMS. I went to Idaho Elementary School, Randolph Middle, proud graduate from East Meck High, go Eagles, if there's any Eagles in here. And then I went to CP for a year. And I went to Queen's University of Charlotte, got my bachelor's degree in political science, worked in DC for a few years, then I went to New York City and got my master's degree from NYU in public administration. A little bit about me and my journey into politics and public service was that I grew up undocumented for most of my life. I was a recipient of the DACA program signed by former President Barack Obama. But that was really not my first introduction to politics. My first introduction to politics was in 2013 when my family and I used to live in Silver Oaks, Castlewood Apartments in front of East Mecklenburg High School. And we got a 30-day notice to vacate our home during the holiday season. At the time, then Councilmember John Autry pushed the developers to extend that time from 30 days to 60 days. And it was successful, but the result was still the same. I was pushed out, my family was pushed out, and we were left looking to find an affordable place to live in East Charlotte, our home, during the holiday season. We were able to, we moved in a neighborhood called Stonehaven for a bit, where I went to high school in East Meck, like I mentioned. But really, I'll tell you now why I'm running. I'm running because East Charlotte is my home. I love East Charlotte. But when I was approached to run, I was like, I don't want to do that. That's too much. And then when they told me I had to primary someone, I was like, I absolutely don't want to do that. But then I set out on a journey to meet with over 150 individuals and have over 150 individual coffees and spoke to everybody from the East Side. And resoundingly, unanimously, no one was happy with their current representation. They said that emails were unanswered, there was no communication, no transparency. They felt left out and forgotten. And I don't like to see my community go through that. I think my community deserves better. I think there is a better path forward for East Charlotte. Oftentimes we've been left out of the conversation with, things dumped into East Charlotte, whether it's fish arcades or vape shops or storage units or Independence Boulevard, which, that's up to the state, but it has become a car dealership. And I wanted to see it be and continue to be the vibrant, diverse place it has always been. My mom grew up working in District 5, supporting Latino-owned small businesses her entire life. She still works in District 5. My dad, a construction worker who owns his own company, who faced misclassification and wage theft because of his legal status back then. I want to make sure that we're fighting for everyone in East Charlotte, because East Charlotte is not only Latino, it is Black, it is white, it is Middle Eastern, it's Asian. We are the melting pot of the city of Charlotte. And we deserve to have a representative that is communicative, that is receptive, that talks to their constituents, not at them, and that brings them to the conversation, that centers them into decision making. I've said it when I first ran, and I will say it again. I want to make sure that we're bringing the voices of East Charlotte to City Council and the power of City Council back to East Charlotte. So thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Sarah Stevenson, Tuesday Forum, for having me here this morning, and I look forward to the conversation.
Thank you so much, JD. As you are recognized by one of the facilitators here, please give us your name and then go with your question. I see Ken and April first. Who did you see?
East Charlotte, yeah, I used to live over there, behind East Mecklenburg. My question to you is, can you name 3 primary, direct, concise issues that you are most unhappy about from your current leadership in City Council?
Thank you. Yes, my 3 priorities and the biggest concerns I have are transparency and communication. When the Eastland Yards development was going through, there was not a lot of communication from our district representative in negotiating these 2 competing deals. Despite what is said by the current representation, constituents that were involved in that decision making weren't part of that conversation. They had to outsource and speak to other district representatives and at-large members of City Council to get that deal done. The second thing is public safety. We cannot talk about investing in East Charlotte without tackling our public safety, especially an increase in juvenile crime, folks feeling unsafe in East Charlotte, and making sure that we're tackling that head on. And the third thing is making District 5 East Charlotte a destination, building a local economy that belongs to District 5 residents. A lot of residents right now have to drive across town to go to work, right? How can we partner with the Charlotte Regional Business Alliance? How can we partner with other city partners and nonprofits and make sure that we're bringing jobs into the district? Make sure that folks can work, live, and play in District 5, and making sure that District 5 is a destination for all Charlotteans.
Good morning, y'all.
Good morning.
Our other candidate, Marjorie Molina, is here for District 5. And if we could just hold our questions for a minute, I'll circle back around to you, April. And Ms. Molina, we'll give you 5 minutes to make an opening statement.
Okay.
I'm your timekeeper. I'll hold this up when you have 30 seconds.
All right, thank you. Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me?
Hold the mic.
There we go. Okay, good morning. I am Marjorie Molina, and I am your 2-term City Council representative for East Charlotte in District 5. I want you to, first of all, forgive my tardiness. I am a mother of 2 teenagers, and today is the second day of school. So I have multiple responsibilities in the AM. I am the granddaughter of sharecroppers from Bennettsville, South Carolina. I was born in High Point, North Carolina. I moved to Charlotte in 2004 for a job with Citibank, where I worked for nearly a decade. I managed compliance for 4 call centers for bilingual Spanish-speaking agents. That's what I came to Charlotte to do. I got married here. I had 2 children here, and both of my children are lifelong CMS students. I have a senior in high school this year, and I have a sophomore in high school this year. Along that journey, I fell in love. I married someone who was undocumented from the country of Honduras, and together we raised 2 children that are nearly adults, and all they know is East Charlotte. Along my professional career, we started a business. We started an auto mechanic shop where my undocumented husband was able to work and feed our family. And I actually, oh, thank you. And I actually still worked in a bank while we continued that endeavor. Along that journey, I also began to work in the community. Being in the community has never been something that has been foreign to me. I've served on the YMCA of Greater Charlotte's Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Global Issues Committee for several years. I've been on a city board, county board appointed by former representatives dating back to 2011. Actually, I volunteered on one of John Autry's first campaigns for elections. So this isn't new. In undergrad, I was a capital scholar in public policy, so I lived and worked in Washington, D.C., and I worked at a Nobel Peace Prize winning international nonprofit. So that's kind of how I got my interest. On this journey, fast forward in 2022, not to be confused with starting out, it was restarting. I went through a divorce and I restarted. I went back to grad school, finished my master's degree, started over, and became a single mother of those 2 children that I'm telling you about. While I was running for office, I graduated just 4 days before I was elected. And so concurrently reestablishing myself as the force that I am was concurrent with being in this particular role. What we've done together in East Charlotte, first of all, before my 5 minutes is up, first of all, I want to make sure that I pay homage to Sarah Stevenson, because but for women like her, I couldn't stand here today. I stand on her shoulders. I'm the first African-American woman or person of color ever duly elected in East Charlotte. And but for people like her who fought for voices before I was born, I couldn't stand here and have the opportunity to speak to you guys today. So I want to pay that homage to Sarah Stevenson. But what we've done in East Charlotte, when I was elected, we were on the cusp of breaking ground on what would be Eastland Yards. We had 30 acres of that Eastland Yards that was still undecided, and I walked right into it as a brand new elected official. And what I found myself in was having to work with our council so that we can make a decisive decision on what would happen on those last 30 acres. And I'm excited to say that we were able to resolve that in an integrated solution that will, continue to pay dividends for work and economic opportunity for the East Side. And we've done so much more, which I'm sure over the next hour we'll have an opportunity to discuss. So thank you for your time today, and I'm excited about the discussion.
Okay, we have April, Jasmine, and Ed.
Good morning, candidates. My question is, and I'm gonna keep it brief, I want to see what are you all going to do with, it would be just with your question, but since she's here, you both can answer the question. We do see there is an issue among Blacks and Hispanics, Latinos and everything like that. When things are going on in the city, we're out there bootstraps on the ground. And Marjorie, I've never seen you at any of the major things that go on in our city. What are you all gonna do, or what can you think you can do to bring those different cultures, especially for Black Americans? Because there is a bad problem. There's a bad disconnect.
Okay, time.
Thank you.
I appreciate that question because I want to first acknowledge that, you know, within the Latino community, we also face racism and colorism. And a lot of times, somebody once told me while I've been on the campaign trail is that the Black community brings in Latinos to their community, but Latinos typically sometimes do not bring Black folks into our community, right? And it is something that weighs heavily on my shoulders, and I understand the gravity of the historical tensions that both of our communities have had in the past. And it's something I want to acknowledge and have conversations with. And April, you and I have spoken a lot before in the past about how do we bring our communities together, because at the end of the day, all of these issues are impacting us, especially in District 5 East Charlotte, that is predominantly Black residents, right? I mean, yes, we have a lot of Latino-owned small businesses and we have a large immigrant population, but it is predominantly Black. We all coexist and live together. We are all facing the same issues. How do we tackle that? How will we make sure that I speak to not only the Latino community, but also the Black community, saying, hey, we're in this together, you know? Transportation inequity, we're all gonna face that, right? Jobs displacement, we all face that. No access to healthcare, we all face that. A quality of education, we all face that. The other thing is that I found very, for me at least, powerful is also when it comes to immigration, right? And April, you and I spoke about this actually yesterday, where a lot of the immigrants that are being deported right now are also Black immigrants from African countries, from Haiti, from the Caribbean, right? Like, we're in this struggle together, and I hope to make sure that we find that common ground, and also acknowledging the pains of our history together as well. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, April. I want to start by telling you that as I said in my statement, I'm an African-American woman who married someone who was undocumented from Honduras 20 years ago. So this isn't something that I ideate around. This is something that I live. I read, write, and speak Spanish as a second language. And so it's not a theory for me. This is something that I am raising 2 children, and I've balanced for nearly 2 decades. My daughter will be 18 in October. So this is real lived experience on the East Side, right? And I remember being in a forum since I've been on this trail and having to explain, because see, I've had to earn the relationships that I have in the Spanish-speaking Latino community. Some are great and some aren't. And I think you can even see that across this campaign trail, especially this time. But the ones that I've earned, I'm proud of. And that means being a true ally. That means my ex-husband is a citizen because I sponsored him. We went through the immigration process. And for those who are unfamiliar, if you come undocumented, meaning that you did not have a visa before you came, you are actually under what you call a 10-year bar. So you're not qualified to become a resident. So that's been a lifelong journey for us. And once he became a resident and we were able to go to Honduras in 2012, the first time as a family, that was a substantial success after nearly being together for almost a decade at that time. So it's lived experience that I disseminate through my actions and how I live out loud unapologetically. So it's not theory for me. I know how it's done because I live it. East Charlotte District 5 is nearly 40% African American. It's about 38% It's about 27% Latino and Spanish speaking, and then we have residents that represent all other demographics. Of course, within them, race is hidden. Race is a color. It's not an ethnicity. So someone can be both white and Latino. They can be both Black and Latino. So that's another subject, but it's very important to mention in this very loaded and complex conversation.
Good morning, you all.
Excuse me, just 1 minute. I just want to let you know that, because I don't if we made it clear, you have 2 minutes for your answers.
Okay.
And what we need you to do is hold the mic up closer to your mouth. It's not for in here, it's for our streaming audience.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Well, I guess both of you can answer this since you have had some form of experience. I was curious about your process in going through DACA, becoming a citizen, and also how are you mobilizing or moving folks now with the fear of something like Big Beautiful Bill, or in regards to the immigrant community or communities that that you all have been speaking of. So yeah, turn around there.
Thank you for the question. My experience as a DACA recipient to a United States citizen, I fell in love in high school with my best friend, and we got married at the age of 18. And that is how I got my citizenship. And then we both realized that I was, as we were married and going through our growing pains, we both realized that I was a gay man and she was a lesbian woman. And so we tackled that on our own. It was heartbreaking, but at the end of the day, we still love each other. We're still best friends. I'm actually going to be in her wedding next year, so I'm very excited. She has a beautiful partner. I really appreciate the question about what's currently going on in our immigrant community, right? There's a lot of fear. We saw that a Latino festival just got canceled in the city of Charlotte for ICE fears, which is very disappointing. I want to underscore that we shouldn't live in fear, but also we should have leaders that are speaking up and for immigrants. Right now, there's no sitting member of city council that has spoken up for immigrants during these tough times, right? And immigrants are not only Latino, like I mentioned before. There are Black immigrants, there are Middle Eastern immigrants, there are Asian immigrants, there are Western European immigrants and Eastern European immigrants. And so we gotta make sure that because people look to us as leaders, that we're speaking up for them, that they know we're a resource. And also I wanna push to make sure that we reopen our Office of Integration and Immigration Welcoming for the city of Charlotte that overnight kind of went undone. We don't see it anymore. There's been a history with that office, but I wanna make sure that we push for that. Thank you for the question.
So, just to make sure that I'm clear, your question to him was about his journey from DACA to becoming a citizen?
And then I guess more so for you, the follow-up was how are you mobilizing, how are you running or managing your campaign with the fear of the Big Beautiful Bill?
So the Big Beautiful Bill is an economic bill, right? So that's one thing, and not to say that that's not important, but as a municipal government, in 20 years, I've never had somebody come to me, especially as the wife of an undocumented immigrant, to now make sure, and this is a statement that my Blackness is punctuated, that the inability for me to speak from my lived experiences is now somehow diluted. I sit at a dais with the name Molina. And no one knows whether I'm Afro-Latina or African-American until I stand up and tell my story. Because being Black is a racial demographic. Being Latino is an ethnic demographic, which means that you could be of any race and be Latino, but you cannot be of any race and be Black, right? So no matter what, I'm Black when you look at me, right? And when I open my mouth. But when the name Molina is there, I'm taking someone with me, inevitably. I'm taking his grandfather with me. And when I raise my hand and I do something right, his grandfather goes with me. And what I found on this campaign trail is that there's this now, after 20 years of having that name, this push to say, you shouldn't have it, or you should now take it off when it's been half of my life experience. Whether I speak or remain silent, my very presence is both Black and Latino, inevitably, without saying a word. But this is municipal government, and that is a federal issue, and what I say can have an impact locally, but it can't change what the laws are federally. We have to work with our congresswoman and our federal partners to make sure that they partner with us to protect our residents.
Edwin Peacock, City Council District 6, and also a candidate at large. Welcome, candidates. Two-part question. If I had a friend coming in from out of town and I wanted to take them to the best East Charlotte restaurant, I want each of you to tell me where you would take them and why. And the second part to this question is, you two have been on the campaign trail for a while. I myself have been in primaries. They're challenging. Would you say one thing about your opponent that you admire and like, and why?
That's good, Peacock.
East Charlotte restaurant. So, by far right now, my favorite in this moment. It used to be a food truck, and now it has its own standalone restaurant. It's Miss Dee Dee's Caribbean Kitchen. It's off of Kilbourne and Eastway Drive. It is delicious. I highly recommend it. I actually did a video with her highlighting her restaurant. She's wonderful. It's family owned, is Black woman owned. She's just a delight and incredible, and the food just is impeccable. Yes, I've said this to Marjorie before. I commend her and I applaud her and I admire her for being a single mom, raising two wonderful Afro-Latino kids, and also tackling the demands of not only working, but also being a member of city council and being in public scrutiny. That is a lot to take, and I admire her courageousness in taking this role and raising two wonderful kids, and also her intelligence in navigating systems as well.
Aw, that's so sweet. See, now you gotta make us be all gushy, Edwin. Like, look what you did. So that's a great question, Edwin. So full disclosure, y'all, I cook. I love to cook. I cook at home. If you see my two children, you see that they're round, they love to eat, and they love mama's cooking. But I mean, if I had one, so believe it or not, one thing in my house that we do, I do not cook on Friday. That is an absolute no-no. I touch no one's stove. We eat pizza every Friday, and I go to a place called Why Not Pizza. And she knows me by name. She knows what we want when we go in. We get a medium 2-topping pizza, and she knows my kids when they walk in. So if you're looking for a great New York style pizza, I highly recommend Why Not Pizza. They are absolutely fantastic. What I would say about Mr. Mazuera Arias is this young man is on fire, you guys. No matter what happens in this campaign, whether he wins or loses, I think we won't see it, especially if he's not successful. This won't be the last time you see him because he's on fire. And I think the level of courage and intellect he embodies is absolutely outstanding. You know, it takes a lot of, I remember being a younger Democrat. I'm a millennial, so I'm only a generation ahead of you, right? But I remember being a young Democrat, and I remember being ignored by those that were older than me and feeling like, I'm pretty good, you know, and they're like, oh, you got some time to grow, you know, and you're like, no, I'm ready right now, you know, and it's not many times that you can say that you, even when we meet the younger Democrats, that they are on fire and ready to go, you know, and it's demonstrative in their actions at all times. But I think that you can see that with JD, and I think that we've all seen that along this campaign trail, so I would absolutely commend him with that.
Just a minute. We appreciate you know, the warm feelings, because over the last several weeks, we have not had And Ed, it's been a minute since you've been here, but we asked one question, and it's 30 seconds. So the rest of you would know.
Hey, Shedrick Matthews, District 2 resident, Washington Heights neighborhood. Thank you all for being here. Currently, we have a majority Democratic City Council who generally works well together, but we do see rifts that exist within the council. How do you work with your peers, but also challenge and push for the greater District 5 and Charlotte, and how will you plan to do so if elected?
So that's a great question, and I think it's important to note, right? I don't know if you've heard me say this before, but this is a team sport, right? We come as individuals and then we operate as a collective, right? And what I can tell you, despite there being differences on the current council, I respect every last one of my colleagues for who they are, for their positions that may be like mine and different from mine. And that's the beginning of our work, right? Because in theory, every last one of us wants what we think is best for our constituents, those people who we owe allegiance to because they gave us the gift of being able to decide for more than just us, right? Where that challenge well, first of all, where has it been successful? The last 30 acres of Eastland Yards, that was a unanimous vote, right? And it was extremely contentious. And actually, it was a 100% team effort, 100%. I could not have done that alone. I need you to understand that. There were differing sides. I'm dead in the middle. I'm talking to my colleagues about their positions that are individual to them. And, you know, having to balance what we were going to do. And this is the greatest example I've had. It is the thing that I am absolutely the most proud of. The night before the vote, I spoke to Dr. Victoria Watlington, and we went over what we thought would work for that particular endeavor. And we came up with the idea of combining the two proposals. And we both worked the council. We both talked to who would listen to us. And in the end, we all came together, and it was something that not only worked for our council and not only East Charlotte, but the entirety of our city. And that's when things are done right, because again, no matter how great we are in this endeavor, nothing happens alone. This is a team sport.
I appreciate the question. I think the first fold of that is with the community, right? How are we going to work with the community? And that means increasing communication and always having transparency, right? So making sure that the community knows when a development in their neighborhood is happening, not just weeks or sometimes even days before the vote goes into the city council agenda, but way ahead of time, right? Making sure that we are coming to the community, having community meetings, not to support and sell the idea the developer has for the community, but that the developer listens to the community's concerns, right? I also think a lot of it is showing up and making sure that we are constantly showing up to communities, whether it's neighborhood association meetings, whether it's cookouts, whether it's a pool party, whether it's attending churches, right? Whether it's receiving a call from one of the constituents that's in the room right now and checking in on their sister and their husband, right? And making sure that they're okay because they're going through a health crisis. I think that is predominantly for me the utmost important thing, is making sure that I am not inaccessible because I'm just a city council member, right, if elected, that I'm just another Eastsider that's sitting there representing Eastsiders, and that people can call me, text me, and email me whenever they want, and I'll make sure to answer them. The other thing is, how do you work with council and the systems that be, right? It takes up to 6 votes. Right, at the end of the day, you need to get 6 votes. You need to collaborate with everyone on that chamber, on that dais. And the other thing is working with city manager, the city attorney, city staff, and also partners, the business community, right? Nonprofits, the county, not working in silos. Too often times, our local government works in silos. That means The county does their own thing, CMS does their own thing, city council does their own thing. It's ending that and making sure that we're collaborating with the county, CMS, the sheriff's department, and all the other departments. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you so much for your service. It's great to hear your vision, your plans. I would like to start with Councilwoman Molina, and I would like to hear from candidate Mazuera Arias. I've been in North Carolina for almost 5 decades, and 3 of those I have been in Charlotte. I've been involved in economic development, I've been involved in community advocacy, workforce development, and lived on the east side of Charlotte, engaged in the Eastland process in many different ways.
You need to ask a question.
However, I was just trying to give some context because I wanted to know, during the whole time, I have not seen any of our representatives on the east side recruit a large company that would be able to provide jobs to attract people to the east side. 18,000 people have to leave every day the corridor to be able to get jobs.
Excuse me, you'll need to ask your question.
That's what I'm asking. How would you?
We're gonna have to ask a question.
Okay.
I think you missed it in the beginning.
Okay.
You only had 30 seconds.
What would you do to recruit a large company, and what are you doing bringing immigrant businesses to the Eastland side?
Thank you. Good question.
So first, thank you for the question. I haven't been alive 5 decades. And so relative to my lifespan, and I've been in this seat for 3 years. And in 3 years, we've made a substantial progress. And I think for the amount of, the problem is that we run every 2 years. And again, in 22, we had an election with 5 people in it. In 23, Eastland was the thing to settle. It was the thing to settle, and we've done that. And now we're at another milestone just less than 2 years later. Carrying the weight of an entire 30-year process is not a feasible transaction. It's not a feasible question. But what I can tell you is that we're making progress towards what will be East Charlotte. This isn't in theory. Everything that you change costs money. So I wish some of these questions asked, what is a general fund? Or what is an enterprise fund? Or what do you intend to move in order to execute on what you would like to have done? Because in theory, everything sounds great. In theory, it sounds like that I can go and tell private industry to come to East Charlotte, but private industry has to be able to make money where they come, so they're attracted to us. So what I know for sure is that we're on the correct trajectory to make East Charlotte attractive again to businesses that would want to come and set up and do business in East Charlotte. You had a second portion of that question that I'm not going to have time to answer, but I think as a small business owner, brick and mortar, not outside of the scope, I had to make sure that the lights were on, and it cost us a lot of money just to open the doors. I know what small business requires, and there's nothing more important to me than making sure that small business owners can do exactly what I was able to do.
Thank you for the question. I think it's really important, right? Because since Eastland Mall was closed in 2010 and torn down in 2013, we've lacked economic viability in East Charlotte. I think in order to attract businesses, right, we need to invest in our infrastructure and we need to invest in our people. That means we need to make sure that infrastructure is up to date in East Charlotte, and we need to make sure that we are curbing crime in East Charlotte to make sure that we're attracting businesses. I also think an important part of it is uplifting our community assets. So what the East Charlotte currently have that is really good, that is attractive to investors, right? Whether it's robotics clubs, teams at schools, whether it's these upcoming centers like Spark Centro, which is going to house nonprofits on Albemarle Road and W.T. Harris, or the Umbrella Center, a wraparound service community that still lack capital funding, right? How do we work with those organizations to make sure we're uplifting them and connecting them to one another? How do we make sure that we are promoting and marketing East Charlotte as an attractive place to invest? The other thing is working with partners, like I think I mentioned it earlier this morning, the Charlotte Business Regional Alliance, right? Putting pressure on them, right? Making sure, hey, we need jobs in East Charlotte. We need to, we need folks to come in here and invest in our community, right? It takes public-private partnerships to make those things work, right? And then the other thing, when it comes to small businesses and immigrant businesses and women-owned businesses and people of color businesses, we have a housing trust fund, right, that works in anti-displacement for housing. I would like to create a small business anti-displacement fund to make sure, because once investment comes into East Charlotte, rents are going to increase, right? And all these small businesses do not own their property, right, or where they're housed in, so we need to make sure that we look ahead for that. Thank you.
Good morning, candidates, and I just wanted to thank you, Councilwoman, for standing when you speak and for the impeccable record that you have on the council. I think it was like 97.47%.
Hold the mic up.
Thank you, thank you. My question I heard from JD was that the city council doesn't speak to the Latino community. That was a surprise to me, and I wanted to hear why that is. You're there. Why are we not speaking about initiatives associated with the Latin community, if that is the case? Thank you.
Thank you for that question and for the compliment. That 97.47 means a lot to me. Being present means a lot to me. That's what I was voted in to do, to be present, to raise my hand, and make those decisions, and I take that very seriously. So I think that question would depend on who you ask. There's a divergence, and I'm very reluctant to speak of any demographic in a monolith, because we're not monolithic human beings, right? So if you ask a certain sector or a certain demographic of people that are representative of a demographic, whether we speak, then some might say yes and some might say no. And therein lies an even greater issue when we say that we're speaking for the people, because at every instance we're speaking for who's speaking to us, right? And that never accounts for the people that we don't hear from. And so I would say, if you asked some people who I know very well, like Natalia Silva or Rafael Prieto, like if we are doing some things, they probably would say we're doing some but not enough, right? For a growing Spanish-speaking Latino population, I think what they would say is that they would like, I think I heard said earlier about an integration office that used to be head up by Federico Rios. And since his departure, the council don't make staffing decisions. That's something that our city manager does. So we don't staff into the organization. We set policy. But based on what is created as far as importance, the city manager executes on staffing positions. So I would say, but I would even add something else. African Americans represent 40% nearly of East Charlotte and District 5, and you have no Black-owned businesses that are being lifted up in District 5. And I think we need to make sure that when we say East Charlotte, it has to be representative of the entire district.
Thank you for the question, and I'm glad it's live streamed. Because what I said is that city council is not speaking up for immigrants. And immigrants are not just only Latinos, they come from different places of the world. So I want to clarify that. I think when it comes to supporting all businesses, whether it's Latino, whether it's immigrant, whether it's Black owned, we actually do have nonprofits that are uplifting and connecting small businesses. And Black-owned businesses. Charlotte East does a great job. It's a nonprofit in East Charlotte that uplifts the East Side. And right now, they're doing a 50-day scavenger hunt to go to all these businesses, Latino, Asian, and Black, to uplift and celebrate what would have been the 50th anniversary of Eastland Mall. Marjorie's right, we're not in charge of staffing, but we can create initiatives. We can set policies to create offices. We can uplift what's currently going on with our representation. And when I say that City Council isn't talking to its people, they're not talking to their constituents, right? Currently in District 5, we're not having folks communicating with their constituents, right? And so we need to make sure that we are solidifying that and making sure there's a transparent back and forth from the City Council member to its constituents. And also it's talking to nonprofits who are actually doing their work right now and uplifting Black-owned, women-owned, and minority-owned small businesses. Thanks for the question.
Good morning, Robert Collins. I have a lot of questions, but I've been on the east side for 15 of the 20 years that I've lived here in Charlotte. And what I really like to know is this. If you lose, what would you do, or what are you willing to do to help out the other person to reach your goals? Or are you just going to just say, she beat me and walk away, or he beat me and walk away? If you really care about the area, it shouldn't make a difference if you win or lose.
I appreciate the question. If I lose, well, I first hope to be unblocked from social media from the current council member so I can speak to that and I can communicate with that. That would be the first thing. The second thing is I've been in this community since like 2001. I started organizing the East Side, getting Black and Latino communities to register to vote and be in civic engagement. I worked for congressional campaigns. I've been in the immigration rights movement. I went to Congress to work for Congresswoman AOC. I was a lobbyist in DC that worked directly with Alma Adams to fund HBCUs and work on Black maternal health. I've worked in the fight with LGBTQ rights. So if I lose, first, I hope that I can communicate with my council member. And secondly, I would be there every Monday night, whether it's watching online or being there in person. I would make sure that I'm staying tuned with what the community wants and needs, and making sure that if there's a public forum and there's an agenda item that impacts East Charlotte, that will be right there speaking for my community, always being engaged. I've been in public service for 10 years and I continue, and I expect to continue to be in public service after that. Thank you.
So thank you for that question. I think in theory, you know, every 2 years we begin to see people that we've never seen before. And I can come and I can promise you what I will do in theory, but if I was going to do it, I would have already done it. And that 97.4%, 97.47%, I've never seen my opponent at a council meeting ever. And I don't miss council meetings. So I think it's like saying I'm going to eat better starting Monday, right? If I'm going to eat better, if I want to start, I'm going to start whatever day that I say I'm going to start. That's the first thing. I think secondly, you know, I can tell you a resume of greatness that means nothing to anybody in East Charlotte, because I've done some really nice things. But what I've done in East Charlotte is what matters. What I've done for the city of Charlotte is what matters. Whether I've served on a board for the city of Charlotte, whether I've served on a county board, whether I've helped decision makers in the past make decisions that would affect the lives of people in East Charlotte in real time is what really matters. Because if I'm going to do that, I would have already done that, right? Especially saying that I've done it for the last 10 years, because I have been to Washington every single year for the last 10 years. I'm actually a state leader for a global leadership coalition, and I've traveled to Washington and done those things, but that means nothing to the people who live in East Charlotte. That's just, it sounds great on a resume. What you need to know is that for a long time I struggled to get a bus for my kids, and I had to drive across town. That's what matters. The people who have run against me in the past have great relationships with me, and the reason why they do is because they were already present in community. Vinroy Reed, everyone knows Vinroy, and Vinroy is present because he's a business owner, and he's been very present. Curtis Hayes, who ran against me last time, he was appointed to the Business Advisory Committee. He stayed engaged, and that's what leaders do. And even in my past, I've said, this isn't about scaring him away, it's about making sure that he stays engaged in the event that he does not win.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Samir Hamid. I'm running as an unaffiliated candidate for mayor. Part of the reason why I'm running as unaffiliated is because the only thing that Republicans and Democrats can agree on is the slaughter of my people in Palestine. My question is, in Charlotte, as a leader in the Palestinian community, we felt like, our voice hasn't been heard at a local level. My question is an A and B of, do you stand with the Palestinian community in Charlotte? And what will you do to make sure that the people in Palestine, or the Charlotteans that are Palestinian, feel heard?
I appreciate the question. Yes, I stand with the people of Palestine. I'm proud to have the endorsement of leaders from the Charlotte Muslim Caucus. I also think that, like things have been said this morning where we don't have jurisdiction over, federal issues or state issues or this and that, but we do have a voice. We're elected leaders, so people look to us, right, to see what we're thinking, how to guide them, how to inform them on whatever decisions they're making in their day-to-day lives. And so I think it's important to stand with the Palestinian people. And in supporting them, not only do I support the cause, but I support the food. I go to La Shish Kebab on Sharon Amity, which is a Palestinian-owned restaurant, and I love it there. And I know the daughters that run that business, it's 5 of them, it's delicious food. I encourage everyone to be there. And just being there in solidarity, right? Unfortunately, there's not much a municipality can do on what's happening overseas, but we can stand there together in solidarity with all communities that are going through oppression and violence. So I appreciate the question. Thank you.
So you hit me with the bombshell that you were running unaffiliated recently. I want to applaud you for your courage. I think the courage to stand and be who you are in plain sight is something that is absolutely commendable. So I want to first tell you that. And also tell you, if you've heard me speak more than once, you hear me use the word human. Because in our endeavors, and I think that's why the humans like you choose to be unaffiliated, because you really don't like this back and forth, this either or, right? You want to know that as a human, what you say is important. You and anybody that you know that belongs to the Palestinian community. And I think when I say human, that's what I endeavor to do. I endeavor to bring people along. It is my life choice to bring people with me. Again, as I said, when I sit at the dais and I have Molina, which is not my father's name, at that dais, that is me inevitably bringing someone and a whole culture along with me. Whether someone feels like that I have the permission to do it or I should do it because I'm Black or not, right? And so with the permission from your community, I think every human that believes in what's right would stand with you, whether that is in voice or in truth. The ancestors that I can absolutely claim, when they fought for what we know today as civil rights, we didn't even have democracy until there was a such thing as civil rights. So we're about 60 years old as a nation. But the people who fought for civil rights, they fought for absolutely everyone, and that is absolutely what I embody when I say human and what I mean as human. Now, we have fallen victim in more ways than one to just being complacent with speaking and not expecting results. So when I say to you what we can do as a municipal government, that is to set your expectation and not give you false promises, because that's unfair to both you and me.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Tommy Watson.
Just a minute. Let me call out the next few folk, okay, so that we don't get too far behind. Dr. Watson, Gerald, Thomas, Sharika.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Dr. Tommy Watson. Last night, WBTV reported that there were 6,000 CMS kids who are experiencing homelessness right now in CMS. What is your plan or plight to address the issue of childhood homelessness, which is a growing issue in our community here in Charlotte and beyond?
Thank you for the question. This question is near and dear to my heart because I grew up low income and in poverty. And so there were many paychecks away from us being in the streets. My dad, who, like I mentioned, faced misclassification and wage theft. sometimes couldn't pay the bills. And so I was almost one of those CMS students that experienced homelessness. I think we need to do a better job in not working in silos with the county, right? The county provides wraparound services. They're the ones that come out with the homelessness report and the statistics of how many folks are living out in the streets. So we need to expand our wraparound services with the county. We also need to uplift and upscale our CARES program with the city of Charlotte. Our CARES program is one that folks go out in the community and help the homeless population. But I don't know about y'all, but I have not seen someone with a green vest, which is typically what they wear, out in the streets helping our homeless population, right? I don't see that program really taking effect and implementation into our community. And so I would want to make sure that we're upscaling that and that we're actually putting dollars behind that to make sure that our homeless population is taken care of and that we're addressing students and kids that are experiencing homelessness. That means working not only with the county, but also with CMS and other partners in the community. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. I'd like to start by saying, I think where there are parents or where there's students, there's also parents. So if you have 6,000 students, then at some point there's an exponent to who those humans are that are affected by what you're speaking of. And I see the chair of our school board right there in the back, and she can attest to this. Let me preface something. Because of where I have landed as far as achievement, it's often misunderstood where a person came from. My father died when I was 6. Again, my father grew up on a sharecropping farm. He had 17 brothers and sisters in Bennettsville, South Carolina. My father's buried in Bennettsville with my grandparents, right? He had a 6th grade education, and when he died, my mother was left alone. And I ended up in the foster care system. Now, despite graduating, very intelligent, and earning my way through school, and still having to bring people along with me, I absolutely know what it's like to grow up with less. My parents were teen family. They came together as teens and stayed together for a lifetime. My mother was only single because of my father's death, and it complicated our life as a result. But with that being said, one of the only sides of town that does an intergovernmental summit is the East Side. That is me, Stephanie Sneed, Mark Terrell, and Dante Anderson. Each year, for every single term that I've been elected, we've done an intergovernmental summit where we put our resources together and endeavor to work together. And out of that, we have the teachers, we have a housing community that is an intergovernmental. We have so many intergovernmental examples. The short of that, with the constraint of time, is that this is an intergovernmental answer, and we're not in silos on the East Side. My partners on the East Side are not only my partners, but they're my friends. Mark Terrell has been my friend for 15 years, and we work very, very well together.
Good morning, Gerald Pat. And this question is regarding zoning and development in East Charlotte. Many East Charlotte residents have expressed a lack of trust in governmental investment. What is your personal philosophy when assessing zoning and development proposals, particularly in cases where there has been little to no community engagement? And how would you approach voting on such matters?
It starts with community first, and centering and making sure that the decision-making process for these developments start with the community. Oftentimes, like you mentioned, Gerald, the community is really upset with the lack of communication when a new development is coming around. Yesterday, I was actually at 4 Seasons, visiting the home of Mr. Norwood, who lives on Lawrence Orr Road, and he mentioned that there are duplexes being built, that there's an apartment development that is coming down the pipeline, and that when asked to be defended by the current representation came in and defended the developers instead, right? And so for me, that is concerning, because we need to make sure that we're centering the voices of the community first, that we're utilizing community beneficial agreements, right? That the community has a say in what happens in their neighborhoods, in their neck of the woods. The second thing is talking about conditional rezoning, which is oftentimes an underutilized tool that municipal governments have, which means that if there's a development that's going to happen, if there's a parcel that's open, right, and the developer wants to come in and use public dollars to build, let's say, affordable housing there, the community can come in and do a conditional rezoning, which means we need to get 100% of all neighbors signed on to make sure that there is a negotiating process, that the community members and neighbors are involved in the decision-making process. But that's only possible if you have communicative and receptive representation facilitating dialogue between the developer and neighbors. Thank you.
So thank you for your question. First of all, I want to make sure that I'm clear. The community don't set what type of rezoning is petitioned. The private industry, they put a petition in. So as a business owner, you know that no one tells you how to make the decisions for your business. Your business decides to make a decision. That's what the way it comes in is the way it is. We're able to negotiate some things that happen along that process, but it's not telling the private industry what they would do. Let me back that up though. So in theory, the idea that council knows everything before it happens, District 5 actually has the least amount of petitions in the city of Charlotte. We don't have a wealth of petitions that come through. Since the 2040 plan, plenty of things that happen, everything that happens is not a council decision. Some things are what you call by right, which means that it's zoned properly and the intended business can come in and do exactly what they want without any permission of council. Let me also make sure that I'm clear. Professionally, I'm a senior business development executive for an architecture, engineering, and interior design firm. We don't do construction. We actually design things for people. So I'm no part of construction. That's just simply not true. We do design work. But I can tell you that in Charlotte, with 930,000 residents and any given amount of petitions at one time, sometimes your council member may have just found out about it because there are 9 different opportunities for the public and the institution to engage with the city and the community. There are 3 points throughout that, and many times, and I'm actually advocating right now, and I want to be successful at it, in making sure that we have ongoing training for our community members to know when they can engage with this process, because that's missing community-wide.
Good morning. My name is Thomas Blanford. I live Eastway and Central. I have good friends who are working for airport vendors, and they are struggling. When I visit them, I look in their pantry when they're not looking to see what food they're missing. They felt like they were stabbed in the stomach when the city council refused their request to investigate to see whether there's anything that the city council could do to improve their wages and working conditions. And Councilwoman Molina, you were the deciding vote in not even taking that to committee.
Sir, we need for you to ask your
That's the question, is why?
Okay, thank you so much.
So I imagine, first of all, thank you for the question. I think it's important to note that what you find in a situation like this is that I could send that to committee, but could we make the change, right? So we have municipal government power. And within the power of what happens in municipal government, we've taken that action. Every single employee, regardless of what they do for the city of Charlotte, if they work 40 hours, they make $24 an hour. That is absolutely within my power as a municipal government official. And that is exactly what we've done unanimously as a council. What we're facing is private industry that we do not have the ability to regulate, in that they've elected to pay people what they have elected to pay people. And what you're talking about is something called the case ordinance. And the case ordinance endeavors to have us because we own just the airport. You imagine saying that we're going to do that just for airport workers, but we're not going to do that for all the mothers and fathers who deserve to make more than what they're making across the city, right? Because if we could do it for the airport, we should do it for everybody in this city. There are single mothers. Poverty is sexist. And most of the poverty that is experienced across this nation is single women who raise children all by themselves. And if we can do it at the airport, we should do it for everybody, right? So to say to me that as a single mother, by the way, when I left my marriage, I was broke. I had no money. And I went to go and ask for money from the system for the first time in my life, right? So in this whole endeavor of me leading is also me rebranding. What you see right now is a woman who fought like hell to make sure that I can take care of my kids and bring other people with me. And I have zero tolerance for somebody saying that that's not something that I would do for absolutely everybody if I could.
Thank you for the question. I don't think we should pit one community against the other. The task at hand that was asked from City Council was referring the case ordinance, which would study the legality of whether City Council could improve the vetting process of subcontractors that contract with the airport that the city owns, right? Sorry, I can't see you, there you are. And making sure we know the legality of it, right? This vote that council denied was not because was not about saying, hey, we're gonna make this legal, right? And we're gonna pay the airport workers better. It was to refer it to committee and look at the legality. So I don't understand when council members who voted against this say we can't do this when we didn't even give it the opportunity to start the conversation and examine the legalities of the case ordinance, right? The city of Charlotte owns the airport, right? We can look through, hey, how about a better vetting process for subcontractors? Instead of the lowest vetting model, let's go to a high value model, right? Let's hire subcontractors that know how to treat their employees, right? That give them better benefits, that give them better wages. We need to stop. As leaders, I don't understand. If you're running for public office, I don't understand when we got to the point where we said, well, we can't do this because the powers that be tell us that we can't do this. As public service leaders, we need to think outside the box and be more creative and help working people, right? I am proud to say that I have the endorsement of SEIU, 32BJ, the Airport Workers Union, as well as the North Carolina AFL-CIO Labor Council, right? Because I'm for workers, I'm for working families, and we need to stop addressing things of, we can't do it this way, and ask, what can we do? Thank you.
Do we need to shorten their response to 2 minutes?
Yes. All on the same page. We'll ask that our candidates, if you will now reduce your answers to 1 minute, because we only have about 10 minutes left.
Got it.
And we have Sharika, Mary, and if we have time, Ken will come back around to you, okay?
Good morning, I'm Sharika Comfort, do business development and organizing work on both the east and west side. And my question is for both candidates. Councilwoman Molina, you were one of the council reps who, as mentioned, voted against adding the discussion of airport workers' safety and wages to the agenda for future discussion. As someone who personally watched from a plane while a man died at the airport, I don't need a life story, I just need a direct answer. What will each of you do if elected or re-elected to revisit those concerns regarding safety and wages for airport workers?
The only reason why we continue to say airport workers is because it's sexy right now. And I've never lived on my life story. No one in here knew some of the stuff that I'm saying. Nothing in my marketing is about my race or my ethnicity or my life story. So I'd like to preface with that. But so again, whether we send this to committee or not, legal advice from multiple attorneys within the city of Charlotte has said that we do not have the ability to set wages for private industry. This is not a, do you want to, or you're not with workers. I am a worker, and everyone in this room is a worker, and all important, but I am absolutely saying that the municipal governing body that is the city of Charlotte cannot take action to manage private wages for subcontract workers at the airport or anywhere in the city.
I think for when it comes to the case ordinance, right, it was already voted against, right? So we need to have a different iteration because city council can't vote on the same thing twice. So we would have, if I'm elected, would collaboratively work with the airport workers, right? Because I met somebody that worked in a storage unit, right? That was subcontracted at the airport. I met somebody that worked under a bypass bridge, a 19-year-old kid, because he was living poverty wages. He was earning poverty wages. So I think for me is continue that dialogue, continue that communication, and work in collaboration with unions to see what can be done from the municipal level to address the conditions that airport workers are working in right now.
Okay, good morning, and thank you both for being here. We do accept call-in, I should say, text messages that come in for people who are not here. They text us. And this question is for Councilwoman Molina, but both of you can answer. And it's about Eastland Yards. What have you done, and what are you doing to move it forward? Because we know that it passed, and then you can answer that too. What will you do to move it forward into fruition?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that question. So Eastland Yards, the last 30 acres, if you guys have driven down Central Avenue, you see that the first 60 acres are already underway. And so it's already moving forward, right? So there's a good amount of movement there. The last 30 acres, if you think about it, just last year we finalized an additional $11 million to make sure that the last 30 acres of Eastland Yards could move forward. So right now we're in the endeavor of taking what was option A and option B and making sure that they can actually be on the same last 30 acres and work together. And so far, from every single report that I've gotten, and Ms. Carlenia Ivory, she's actually here in the room, and she's actually the pioneer, she's the co-pioneer of what will be the indoor sports complex. And from everything that I'm being told, is that endeavor is actually on time and happening well. So we gave an additional $11 million to make sure that that project and that portion of the project can stay on time and on budget.
Thank you for the question. So a lot of Eastland Yards is fairly complete, right? As Councilwoman Molina said, there's already funding there. I think it's the process of getting businesses there as well, right? So we want to make sure, I at least want to make sure if I'm elected, that the commercial spaces that are up for leasing have an open, transparent vetting process, right? That we are prioritizing our immigrant-owned, Black-owned, Latino-owned, minority-owned, women-owned small businesses and our community, and making sure that they get prioritized to have those spaces there as well, right? Not prioritizing other businesses that are, in other states or in South Carolina or, headquarters somewhere else, making sure that that's open to the public and that the public receives that information ahead of time, right? Not during a committee meeting or not during when a candidate speaks about it, it's like, I should speak about this as well. No, like that people have that information and access way ahead of time. Thank you.
First of all, race is a social construct designed to divide. History and science dictate that there's only one race, and that's the human race. But my question is, sounds like you guys have great opportunity to forge an effective, strong, and lasting coalition that could potentially lead to a line of succession, assuming she doesn't assume the long-standing practice of being elected and sitting there beyond decades as if it's your permanent seat. What might be the chance that the two of you may ultimately come to some meeting of the minds, and should you be elected or you be elected, that the two of you forge together to move this district forward?
Great question. I absolutely agree that we need to build consensus. And Marjorie can speak to this. After our District 5 Candidates Forum, we had an opportunity to speak one-on-one afterwards. And I told her, if I lose, I'm going to be there every step of the way to make sure that, the constituents, the community's voices are there, that we can work together. And when I win, I want to make sure that I can rely on Councilwoman Molina and learning more about city, learning more about, the way she did business and, just learning from her, not only learning from Councilwoman Molina, but learning from all the other past District 5 council members, such as John Autry, Nancy Carter, Matt Newton, because at the end of the day, what brings us together is the East Side, and making sure that we're working forward to provide real solutions and deliver real results to East Siders. So thank you for the question.
Thank you for that question. I think it's important to note, I can guarantee you that I will not be here for decades. I can absolutely promise you that with 1,000% certainty that I in no way feel like that this is my seat in perpetuity. That's the first thing I want to make sure that you know. And then the second thing is, the one thing that I know for sure is that everyone who cares continues to care. We all live here. We're all residents. JD is definitely a current resident. Since he graduated from college and returned last year, he and his partner, he's been on the ground re-engaging with the district that he grew up in. And I would anticipate that he'll continue that now that he's back home. Having been gone and learned a lot while he was away in college, finishing his master's degree, I think, he's bringing a lot of that back, and we see a lot of that being implemented. So when I am reelected, I definitely intend to continue to engage with him and make sure that he's ready to move forward.
Thank you so much. I am encouraged. I am. Let me give you each 30 seconds to do a summation, and then we'll go into announcements.
Well, thank you for being here. Again, my name is Juan Diego Mazuera Arias. Most of you know me as JD. I'm a son of East Charlotte. I grew up here, right? I know and lived the day-to-day of East Charlotte. And I came back to give back to the community that raised me, right? So, you think about it. Has your life improved in the last 3.5 years? Has your representation been communicative and transparent? If it hasn't, there's a better path forward. So on September 9th, I hope to earn your vote as your next city council member for District 5 East Charlotte. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for coming here and spending this early morning discussing this district forum with us. I am Marjorie Molina, and I am absolutely proud to be the District 5 representative. The last 3 years have been the greatest honor of my life. Together, we've resolved the last 30 acres of Eastland Yards. We've protected more than 170 families at Pepper Tree Apartments. We've put more than $20 million along Harrisburg Road. We have the largest road project in the city of Charlotte right now, $73 million along Robinson Church Road, and we've done so much more. And as your third term representative, I will continue that work, and I'm asking for your support. Thank you to be the third term and the next representative for East Charlotte. Thank you so much for coming today.
Announcements. I'd like to announce back to.
Yes. Dr. Thomas, play something to that. Yeah.
That is so wonderful. and just briefly, you know, this year, and I've been inviting candidates a long time to this forum, but when I send out invitations, my heart was so heavy this year because it's just been so nasty. But I am encouraged. I am encouraged. My announcement is that today is the last day to request that absentee ballot. And as was mentioned to us last week, request it, even if you don't need it. You don't know what's going to happen to you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, one thing that will make you feel better after the primaries is what was voted the greatest festival in the history of the world by everybody in my household. A Vibe Called Fresh is back again September 20th at West Complex from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. The main event to this incredible festival is something we have called Mashup Madness. 3 incredible DJs will have 10-minute sets to tell a story via mashups. Mashups are like blends. It will be amazing. You'll have the greatest time of your life. Homeownership resources, community resources, civic resources, all there as well. Come on out, hang out. It's going to be an amazing time.
Good morning again, everyone. I just got a brief and a quick announcement first. All the materials that you see on the tables, those are our candidates. Even if some of you have already voted, please take that information with you, because everyone, you may run into someone that still needs to vote. So they pay a lot of money for that, for the information, so please take that information with you. And secondly, Charlene Henderson, which is running for District 1, is having a fish fry on the 30th. Please come and donate. If you know that's your candidate choice, it will be at New Covenant Bible Way in the parking lot. And the address is 1321 Caps Mine Road from 11 to 4 p.m. And that is for Charlene Henderson, candidate for District 1. We'll be having a fundraiser fish fry. You know, it's old school. So please come and get your fish. It's usually good, and it'll be good, still good on Saturday. Thank you.
For all of you who have youth interest, and particularly in baseball, if you watched the Little League World Series over the weekend, what a hell of a game.
What it was.
It was. My purpose today is to introduce a newcomer to Charlotte. You all know of the Boys and Girls Clubs of America, which has been non-existent here in Charlotte for a while. Well, we now have a person who is going to at least introduce himself and tell you where you can reach out to him in regards to reviving Boys and Girls Clubs of America in Charlotte. And he's very new, less than 6 months in Charlotte. So be kind, be courteous, and be quiet while he tells you who he is.
Hold on for just a minute. Let the lady go.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just reminding everybody that this Thursday, CLT Gives Black, it's an annual giving opportunity, a giving day for online crowdfunding. QCD Metro has information available. You can discover the 63 Black-led, Black-benefiting nonprofits participating this year. Find one or more and give generously and show some love to the nonprofits working on the front lines of our communities that often don't get seen and recognized. So this is a big day to recognize them. CLT Gives Black on August 28th. Early giving begins today. Thanks.
Where can we see Solar Philanthropy?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to see Solar Philanthropy.
What is that?
I'll go to Charlotte Museum of History.
Yes.
On the east side to see the Solar Philanthropy, our exhibition lifting up stories of giving in African American communities. It's there until October 19th. Thanks.
Good morning, Arlethea Halesock with Blumenthal Arts. I'm the Community Impact Manager there.
I just wanted to thank you, Ms. Jackie, for allowing me to announce once again. We've actually extended application deadline for what was formerly called Junior Ambassadors. It is now called Blumenthal Emerging Leaders for high school juniors and seniors, a career exploration program for careers in the arts. You don't have to be a performer. In fact, we are not looking for performers. We are looking for young people interested in the business side of the arts. Again, it is Blumenthal Arts Emerging Leaders. Go to blumenthalarts.org. Under education, look for that application. They're due on September 15th. Thank you so much.
Oh man, I'm about to get shouting. I said this before, Deontay Lewis, I'm the interim COO, Chief Operating Officer for the Boys and Girls Club of Charlotte region. I came from Milwaukee, which is the largest operation of the Boys and Girls Club across the country. And I serve as Vice President of Operations there. I say that to say that, I say that to say that this wasn't by accident. We're taking this very serious as it relates to the re-entry in this region. Charlotte is the largest city in the country without a Boys and Girls Club. It was formerly in partnership with the Salvation Army. That partnership sunsetted. So you heard of the Milton Road location. There was a location over here off of Belmont as well. We're starting in schools because it's the easiest way to re-enter. This separation happened in January. So we're in, please don't bash me if I get the names messed up. I get caught up with Albemarle.
I know what else is.
Hello, hey, so we're in Albemarle. So we're in Albemarle Elementary and Middle, Mint Hill Middle, Northridge Middle, and Grove Park Elementary. So we're starting in those schools starting on September 22nd. When I say the appetite is rich, because that's what matters the most. Talking to the young people at the open houses, we already have half of our eligible spots already filled. So we had 250 young people and their families sign up, and we also got
Mr. Lewis, can we ask you to let folks talk to you afterwards?
Absolutely, yes, yes. That means my time.
And also, just to get ahead of it, it's tough to see you next time. That makes sense.
Because those are all east side areas. Okay.
How y'all doing? My name is Samir. I have a company, a t-shirt printing company, and since 2018 we've done a community fund where we essentially print free t-shirts for any nonprofit in Charlotte. We'll do your first 3 shirts for free and help you with any design. So if anybody in Charlotte in a nonprofit needs some merch, hit me up, get my information. We'd love to print you some free shirts. So thanks.
Thanks, Shamir. I want to also announce that we are doing early voting this week, still at Hal Marshall, and then the other 9 sites next week. Y'all have a wonderful week. Appreciate you coming. You like you up out of here.
Thank you.